Good evening, everybody. I'm now calling the regular city council meeting for September 18th, 2023 to order. We will start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Unruh, will you lead the pledge for us? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the roll call.
Council members Newland.
Here.
Knoll. Here. Bruce.
Here.
Bolaware. Here. Mayor Barnett.
Here. So there are 5 of us present, 2 absent. The next is the approval of the regular session meeting agenda. Councilmember Knoll.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for September 18, 2023.
As published?
As published.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Knoll, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Bruce. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it passes 5-0 with 2 absent. Next is the presentation of the breast cancer awareness shirts to the City Council by the Fire Department. Hello, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, and City Manager Mekshon. It's great to see you this evening. Well, it's that time of year again, and our Farmington Hills firefighters have designed a breast cancer awareness t-shirt that they'll begin to wear on duty here in the coming days, all the way through the first part of November. As you can see, we have several members of the department here, but we also have senior firefighter Kevin Steen, who is the vice president of the union, that would like to tell you about this year's design and all the good things that are done with the proceeds from this event.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, members of City Council and City staff. For those who do not know me, I know the Chief gave me a great introduction, but my name is Kevin Steen. I'm a 15-year member of the Farmington Hills Fire Department. Born and raised Farmington Hills, went to Harrison, and actually worked at the Cossack Center just before starting at the fire department. So actually I've been here working for the city for about 20 years now. So as the Chief mentioned, also vice president of our local. So as you know, we're about just 2 weeks away from October 1st, the start of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every year for the past 10 years, the Farmington Hills Firefighters Association has recognized this month by creating breast cancer awareness shirts. These shirts, which are designed in-house, are worn by all on-duty firefighters and paramedics for the entire month of October. Due to a busy run volume and our constant presence in the community, these shirts and their message will be seen by over 1,500 people during this month. Furthermore, 100% of the revenue created by the shirts will go directly to the Corewell Health Foundation, and these funds will be specifically earmarked for the citizens of Farmington Hills. Over the past 10 years, these shirts have raised over $30,000 for local breast cancer patients and survivors. These funds help cover expensive medical insurance deductibles, purchase wigs for women undergoing chemotherapy treatment, and have even helped fund the purchase of a state-of-the-art digital 3D mammography machine. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer during their lifetime. I'm sure there's not a person in this room that has not in some way been impacted by cancer. So out of the many charitable endeavors we take on during the year, this is one of our proudest, and we will continue our efforts until a cure is found. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's get some shirts out.
Hold one up so that we can see it.
Yeah, sure.
Nice.
So again, these are designed by one of our own, so Robin Chevret, Sergeant.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Very nice.
So that's the front there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Got the back.
very nice.
Very nice.
I don't have a list of sizes, but I guess I could just pass these to you guys and maybe you figure it out.
We will figure it
Okay.
out. can't figure it out, we'll call the chief. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking on this cause. Um, As many of you know, my daughter, Samantha Steckloff, was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 31, and she is in recovery. She is a survivor, and she's doing well. So to all of you who have been touched by breast cancer, my hopes and prayers and wishes for a speedy and complete recovery for everyone. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence that we all didn't receive that you would like to talk about? No. Nope. Well, I received 2 emails, actually, about the 96-gallon garbage cans. And to point out, they started being delivered, I believe, today. And they will be distributed to every homeowner in Farmington Hills. And these 96-gallon cans are just the beginning. We're using one size to distribute at the beginning. And then, because it expedites the rollout of the program. And then after 6 months, if you want a smaller size, you can call City Hall and we'll see what we can do about accommodating you specifically and the size that you want and you need. So those are my responses to those as well. Next is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the items may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. And I will now turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem, Randy Bruce, to read the consent agenda.
Consent agenda item number 6, recommended approval of a resolution recognizing Farmington Hills Firefighters Local Charity Fund as a nonprofit organization operating in the community for the purpose of obtaining a charitable gaming license. Number 7, recommended approval of purchase of a John Deere Pro Gator for Farmington Hills Golf Club maintenance with Revels Turf and Tractor in the amount of $24,637.86, CMR 923-110. Number 8, recommended approval of purchase of kitchen equipment for the senior division at the Caustic Center with Samtel and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $31,148.44, CMR 923-111. Number 9, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a Hawk's Nest aide. And item number 10, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a lifeguard.
Okay, the consent agenda has been read. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Councilmember Boulware?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read by the Mayor Pro Tem Randy Bruce, items 6 through 10.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Boulware, seconded by Councilmember Newland. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmembers Boulware,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Now, on to public questions and comments. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. At 4.5 minutes, I will put my hand up and start twirling my finger because I don't know what to do with it. And that will be your sign that you have to wrap it up. If anybody would like to come forward at this time, please do. And as Pam Gerald walks up, I want to thank her very much for her hard work in putting a program together for suicide prevention and awareness last week. It was an exceptional event. Charlie Langdon hosted it, and he was absolutely wonderful. And I know you were running around like a very busy woman that evening, and you pulled it off very, very well. So I want to thank you.
Thank you,
That
Madam
did not
Mayor.
count toward your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I also, too, wanted to thank the people that came from the surrounding communities to support it. You know, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And not only do we lose the people that decide to take their lives, but we also lose the family members because they are never the same and forever changed. So I'm hoping that with what the 2 police chiefs did, our Farmington Hills Police Chief Jeff King and the Southfield Police Chief, Elvin Barron, with their collaboration, doing these town hall study sessions, that we can take a deeper dive into suicide prevention, educating the public on what to do, giving them the tools that they need to get the help and other modalities. And I want to give an exceptional shout out to Council Member Dr. Ken Massey for what he said, his authenticity, talking about the subject matter. I was moved to tears by some of the things that I heard from the people in the audience. I want to thank the councilwomen, Councilwoman Jackie Boulware and Mary Newland for coming to the event, for you, Mayor. It was something that I'll never forget. And I'm just hoping that we can address the younger kids that are taking their lives and how social media is playing a role in that. We can't just have these children doing this bullying when they know, first of all, that bullying is wrong. And then we cannot have them pushing these children that have issues that they're dealing with for whatever reason, family dynamics, lack of self-confidence, being insecure. We have to put some kind of punishment on these kids when they bully and they push their classmates to the edge where they take their lives. So it's going to be more. We've got several town hall study sessions coming up in the future, but I'm hoping that when the session is over, that we don't stop thinking about it and talking about it and trying to do something about it. So thank you to all the residents that came. Thank you to all of the people that participated. Southfield Crime Prevention, Farmington Hills Crime Prevention, all of the police officers that assisted me, the police chiefs with the 2 jurisdictions. I love the collaboration. I can go on and say a whole lot of things, but normally I'm not tired after an event, but it was emotionally and mentally draining, because I do know people that have committed suicide. And I was in bed from Thursday night until Sunday, just thinking about the comments that I heard, and the lady that was having the issue with her son, and just how she cried. But what I do like about it, Charlie Langton was able to extract people to admit their vulnerability and to talk about this, because people do give a darn. And we have to get back to loving ourselves, loving our world, and loving our community. We have a lot of things that's wrong in it and a lot of people that's not doing the right thing, but for every one person that we have doing something wrong, we have 50 or 60 people doing something right. So keep fighting, keep educating yourself, and keep supporting these town hall study sessions with our police chief, Jeff King, and the Southfield Police Chief, Elvin Barron. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't want to also forget the Public Safety Director from Oak Park that was there, and all of the generous people who gave their time and energy. If you're having a problem, what's the number to call? 988. It is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you are having a problem or you know of somebody having a problem, dial 988 and there will be a live human being taking your call.
And since my time wasn't up, Madam Mayor, I want to thank the people that donated food. I want to thank Liz Reyes from Eddie V's. She donated some things. Wing Snob on 12 Mile and Telegraph, Captain Jay's Chicken, and the other people that donated some food. So I want to thank them as well.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes. Oh, I think I'm going to get a tip of the month. That's what it looks like.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager. those of you sitting out here attending tonight, and those who may be watching or viewing at a later time. My name is Tim Segrist. I'm here in my capacity as a member of the Emergency Preparedness Commission for Farmington and Farmington Hills. And our mission basically, as most everyone knows, is to inform and educate and connect people to resources to help in the case of an emergency or a disaster. And as part of that, we give a tip of the month that we present at the council meetings just to kind of keep people focused and just present some thoughts on things that may occur and things that you may want to think about ahead of when bad things happen. Because everything's good until it's not. And the time to prepare is before that gets here. So that being said, our tip of the month for September is basically be informed. How do you be informed? Because during a disaster or during an emergency, I mean, the key to taking safe action is knowing what to do, is being informed on what steps to take and how you're going to handle it. And that's where we'd like people to kind of put your minds to work ahead of time. Right now is a good time to think about it. We're transitioning from summer into winter. We have a whole different set of circumstances weather-wise. Weather changes more often than it used to. I'm sure you've noticed the number of power outages, severe thunderstorms, flooding. We had the tornado sirens go off at least once this year in our area. There were tornadoes in the metro area and in northern Oakland County. So if that happens to be in your neighborhood, that's an emergency. And that's your big moment that you're going to need to know what to do. Most people in that case do, but the more you can be informed for the unexpected, the better. So some things to think about would be weather broadcasts and alerts. Sometimes those aren't closed captioned. So if you're challenged with being able to hear, you may be watching lips move and not know what's being said. You know it's important, but what? And you think about your situation and how you're going to input that information. How is that going to come to you? Information may only be printed on the screen. So it's printed on the screen, but if you're off doing something else, you don't notice it, and it could go by while you're not paying attention, and next thing you know, you've missed it. The other part of that would be it's when you're under stress, and we've all been there, when you're under stress, things happen in a hurry. And you either hyper-focus on something or you're just kind of in a fog. And sometimes emergency information comes quickly, and sometimes there's a lot of it, and sometimes there's a lot of instruction. And you might not be able to remember all of that. It might not stick with you at the moment you need it to because there's too much, and you're preoccupied with what am I going to do? So the calmer you can be, the more prepared you can be, the better that's going to go for you. The alert screen as they have on here, it could be anything. If up here, screen of any type, might be hard for you to read. Some people have difficulty or challenge seeing colors. Certain colors they're just not going to be able to deal with. Something else to keep in mind. If that's the way it's being delivered, you might not get all of it. And let's talk about a simple idea. I happen to speak English. Other people speak Spanish. Other people speak a variety of other languages. If English isn't your primary language and that's the way it's being delivered, you're not going to be able to understand everything. So the more you can do to prepare yourself based on your situation about how you're going to take that information in, how you're going to absorb it, how it's going to be delivered, the better off that's going to be. So it's just some things to think about. There are a couple of systems that we encourage people to use. For Farmington Hills, we have FH Alert. And you can go to our city website, fhgov.com. You can go to Stay Connected, and then under FH Alert, and you can sign up for that. You'll get information on whether the 911 line is up or down, the emergency line or the non-emergency line. Sometimes there'll be information there from the police department about someone who's walked away and they need help finding them. There'll be obviously information there on an emergency of whatever type it might be. But that's a good local means of getting information that has to do with the Farmington Hills community directly. Farmington itself and Farmington Hills can also benefit from Oak Alert. That's the Oakland County alert system. And you can go to the Oakland County, oakgov.com, then to community, then emergency-management, a couple other steps. But once you get there, you can navigate, sign up for that, and get alerts from Oakland County. That's another way of keeping on top of what's going on here. There are other systems, obviously. When the sirens go off, you know there's something going on. Almost everybody knows what to do in that case. But for weather, if you're sleeping, you might not be aware of what's going on. You can get a NOAA weather radio. Those are available very simply at ACO hardware stores. You can get them on, obviously, you can go to online, find them on Amazon. I'm not promoting one place over another, but they're readily available. You just Google NOAA weather radio and you'll find them. That's a good thing to invest your money in. They can be as cheap as $29, as expensive as $79 or $80. But you will get alerted when something important is happening and you may be asleep. And the interesting thing is, they come with little vibrator pads you can put under your pillow. So if you're challenged as far as being able to hear, that thing will vibrate the pillow. They have some that have lights that go off. So it'll activate a light as opposed to sound or feel. So stimulate the visual cortexes. So there are a variety of ways based, again, on how you personally in your situation will be able to get information, however that is. And then we all have our devices. We all have one of these. You've got an Android or an Apple, a pad, one of these things. Most of your cell phones actually have under notifications a place where you can actually sign up for emergency alerts. And they break it down to federal, state, county, and local, including Amber Alert. That's where a lot of you get that Amber Alert on your phone. And some people go, wow, that scared me. I didn't know how am I getting that? If you go into your settings and you go into
At
notifications.
3:20 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that one. I went, uh-oh. And they found them both, by the way. So I guess what I'm saying is, take it upon yourselves to look into different ways to get emergency information and to get information that's from various sources that are going to come to you when the time comes. And try and prepare yourself as much as you can to be able to receive that information, because that's going to help you know what you're going to need to do and how to operate as safely as possible.
Thank you
And
very
that's
much.
basically it. That's our tip of the month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello again.
Hello.
So I just wanted to speak on the charitable gaming license that you all just approved. Thank you very much for approving that. I'd just like to kind of speak about what we've done in the past, kind of what we have right now, and what we plan on going in the future. So the Farmington Hills Firefighters Association has a 45-year history of charitable work throughout the community. While we've been able to do a lot of good throughout the years, we feel we can do more. In January of this year, we decided to form the Farmington Hills Firefighters Local Charity Fund. This organization is Michigan Incorporated, IRS 501c3 approved, and State of Michigan solicitation certified. We created this charity with the sole purpose of serving the residents of Farmington Hills. As first responders in this city, we see people at their greatest times of need. And at times, those needs extend beyond what we can provide during the brief 1 hour, 2 hour emergency response. This charity fund will allow us to go beyond the call, providing direct and impactful services and funds to the people of this city. Being a compliant 501c3 allows us to access grant money, partner with businesses, and allow those businesses a tax incentive. And we can also accept donations from our own members and any generous members of the public that decide to support what we're doing. It is important to note that every single member of the Farmington Hills Firefighters Local Charity Fund participates on a strictly volunteer basis. No member of the organization receives any type of compensation for their performance or services. This model allows for an extremely efficient charity with very low overhead costs. Some of the current and future programs that we have are one which we call Feeding Seniors. This has been done, we'll be on our 8th year now, this coming November. So this is a program that provides food for low-income senior citizens during the holiday season. And what we've done is we've had a focus on Thanksgiving. So what we've done, we've partnered with the Meijer at 8 Mile and Haggerty. We also partnered with the senior division here. And what we do is we go directly to the door. We provide turkeys, all the fixins, all the sides, and completely set these senior citizens up for a Thanksgiving meal. And a lot of the times, if they're open to it, we kind of spend some time especially if they're alone for the holidays or have family out of town, we are able to kind of spend some time with them during that time. So that one is a huge one that we've been doing for quite a few years now and continue, and we'll do that in this November. So another one that we have planned is called the Winter Weather Warm-Up. This is a program that provides indoor non-electric heaters, lanterns, and other necessities for those affected by winter storm power outages. So, as we notice in this city and really southeastern Michigan, there's been a kind of uptick in some of the power outages, and these are especially difficult during the winter months. Obviously without power, not much way in a way of heat. So what we're able to do is partner with some like Home Depot, Lowe's, things like this, and get some indoor, non-electric heaters as well as lanterns. When we go on these calls, we have the power lines down. We'll mitigate any safety concerns that these citizens have. But besides that, there's not much we can do besides pointing them to one of the city's warming centers. So what we can do is by doing this, we can have these ready for the citizens, and they can wait out the power outages in their own home where they're much more comfortable with lanterns and heat. So another one that we're working on is called After the Fire. This is a program that provides hotels, toiletries, water, and other essentials to victims of house fires. So the American Red Cross also does this, but sometimes there's a delay, or sometimes they're busy on other things. So this would just be another way where we could supplement that. We could go right directly in-house, essentially provide the hotel, provide the necessities so that these these citizens that are affected by a house fire can at least get to a hotel, get to somewhere comfortable for the night, have a good night's rest, and then kind of regroup in the morning. So, and the last one I'll speak on is called Beyond the Call. This is a program that provides financial assistance to patients in need when encountered on any call for service. So any medical, vehicle accident, water damage. So this is something that we really have encouraged our firefighters and paramedics. We're not just saying, hey, you guys, this is here in case you need it. We're encouraging our members to use this. We're creating revenue. We created this for the citizens of this city. And what we want is if they see a need on a scene, we want them to mitigate that or at least notify us as soon as possible. So some ideas that come to mind, for example, are, as I mentioned, the water damage. Someone, a pipe bursts in their home. There's obviously coverage from their home insurance or renter's insurance, but there is deductibles associated with that, so we would be able to kind of help with that if someone has a financial need. Another one that is very common that we go on is a lot of diabetic emergencies. So we go in, we fix the problem, we get the blood sugar back where it needs to be to a healthy level, but then we find that this person is out of diabetic supplies, no Lancets, no test strips. So we could do one of two things. We could either just provide the funds right there for them, or even make the purchase for those members. So right now, really how we create revenue is by frequent fundraising events. We actually have one coming up this Saturday. Some business partnerships. So we were able to already partner with Farmington Brewing Company in downtown Farmington. We're also partnering with Daryl's Firestone auto service that's right downtown Farmington. They also have a sister partner in Franklin Village, and we partnered with them as well to help create revenue. And then obviously we have our own members and public donations. So, but basically all that to say that the charitable gaming raffles will be just another way that we can help create revenue and help give money back to the citizens of this. So we thank you so much for the approval.
Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work you do. Yes.
Don't leave yet. Please say more about your event on Saturday and the percentage of the money's going back into your
Oh, sure,
fund.
yeah.
It's huge.
So this Saturday at the Farmington Brewing Company, the owner of that business he's a saint, right? So he's agreed to partner with us, and he's created essentially a beer that's called Rollover Red, and 50% of all the sales of that beer are going to go directly to this charity fund. And then we'll obviously distribute those amongst the city and to the citizens of Farmington Hills. But that's downtown Farmington, right at Grand River and Farmington, the Farmington Brewing Company. We'll have sliders, obviously beer, there'll be a raffle, as well as, that you guys have approved. And so that's from 4 to 8 this coming Saturday, 23rd, I believe.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Very well.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'll bring the meeting back to council. Public comment is closed. Next item on the agenda is council member comments and announcements. Anybody have anything?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, besides for a great suicide prevention event, Farmington Hills had a couple other really good events over the past week and a half. So a little over a week ago, our police and fire held their Farmington Hills Police and Fire Benevolent Fund Golf Outing. And I want to thank Chief King and Chief Unruh. I mean, you put so much work into this, you and your staff, and also community residents that volunteered. A lot of time and effort goes into this. It's a great event. It raises lots of money. All of this money in the fund is used for several things. If officers or firefighters are hurt in the line of duty or, God forbid, killed, this fund helps their family with expenses, additional expenses that they may have. Additionally, the fund is used for scholarships for just amazing. You should see the talent, the children of these officers and firefighters that win these scholarships to help pay for college. So it goes to a great worthy cause, and again, thank you for all your hard work. That was a really good event. And then additionally, I'll thank our city of Farmington, our sister city. They had a wonderful Harvest Moon Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 days. It was an amazing festival in downtown Farmington. I think I've said this before, it's my favorite event in the community. And it's so great. You see so many of your neighbors and friends out there, and everyone's in a great mood, and we certainly need that. And nowadays, in today's society, people are so quick to jump to conclusions and to get angry with each other. And this is the one event where I feel like everyone is just in a wonderful mood, and people put aside their differences to just have a good time. So yeah, 2 great events in our community, and it really shows what a wonderful place this is to live and how caring the people are here in Farmington and Farmington Hills.
I'll second what Val said. I worked the entrance booth on Saturday, and both Friday and Saturday, they broke records. So, and it's
Yeah, it
just
was packed.
and it's just wonderful to see everyone, ages. I mean, it's from 20 on up. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, the dancing and the bands and the food, and it's just a wonderful event. And good weather we had too.
Yes, you did. Anyone else? I want to take a moment to congratulate our firefighters and our police officers who were promoted last week, and to thank both departments for having this wonderful event where families come in and they get to pin the upgraded badges on their family members, and it's really touching. And we've got really good firefighters and really good police officers in this town, so it was a pleasure. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, that brings us to city manager update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just got a few things to talk about since this is, we don't have a meeting again until, I believe, October 9th. City of Farmington Hills invites you back in time with the annual Heritage Festival that's held Friday, September 22nd. The cost is, per adult, is $5 or $8 if you wish to have a hayride. And there is also advanced registration that's required, space is limited. No cost for kids 2 and younger. Learn more about your city's government and engage with city officials, first responders, meet new neighbors, and enjoy family fun with plenty of activities for the children by attending the Farmington Hills free citywide open house. That'll be Sunday, that'll be rain or shine, I should say. Sunday, October 8th, 2023, from noon to 3 p.m. right here at the City Farmington Hills City Hall campus, located at 31555 West 11 Mile Road. And that same morning, community members and guests of all ages and abilities are invited to participate in the City of Farmington Hills Hawk Hustle 5K run or walk. The course will take walkers and runners on a scenic view through the city's Kimberly subdivision, The event is limited to 400 participants, and the Hawk Hustle kicks off at 9 a.m. again, Sunday, October 8th, on the track at the Hawk at Farmington Hills Community Center located at 29995 West 12 Mile Road. Information on these events and many, many more can be found on the city's website, fhgov.com. Simply go to the homepage, scroll down to the community calendar, and there we have a very nice calendar with all of our community events and information and contact info right there on our website. I too would like to give my congratulations to our police department employees and our fire department employees that received promotions last week. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend those ceremonies. I enjoy them very much, and my hat's off to those individuals for their hard work. Lastly, touching on your comment, Mayor, about the rubbish cart rollout, if there are residents that are listening in the audience that have any questions as it relates to size of container, can I put an additional container on, out, if everything doesn't fit in that container, feel free to give our Department of Public Services a call at 248-871-2530, or you can call the city manager's office at 871-2500. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bruce?
Just real quick, is there a tentative date for Farmington Road opening?
We hope to have that done sometime by the end of October. It's about 85% complete.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great, thanks.
Good question. Councilmember
Two
Knowles.
questions. I'm going to follow up on that question because I've heard a lot of complaints about Farmington Road and why in the world is it taking all summer? So Gary, could you just explain, I know it was a complicated project, it wasn't just a road paving, there was a lot more that went into it, but can you just explain that so the audience understands what all went into it? And then I have one more question. The second one is I'm going to follow up on the trash bins. So one of the things, some people think it's too big, and I know that we would like them to use it for 6 months, and then if they still think it's too big after 6 months, they can get a smaller size. That's what I understand. But I have heard that some people have said, oh, I don't have to use it. I was told by public services I don't have to use it. So I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to use my regular bin. So are they allowed to use the regular bin, or are we encouraging them to, because the whole point of this new bin is to make it easier on the operators so they don't break their back having to get off the truck and lift up the trash bins. Now it can all be done using the robotic arm. So what are we telling people when they call and say, do I have to use it?
So during the rollout period, certainly continue to use your existing rubbish container. We want people and encourage people to use the wheeled toter cart, and we believe that people will use it. It's just easier to use, it's easier to maneuver and put out by the curb. Many people don't have wheeled garbage cans. I know I didn't before that. So please use the carts once they are deployed and use them. We want people to use them. If you put out your regular container, it will be picked up. But we want you to use the new one. Okay, so I hope everybody that's listening opts to use it. We know they're larger. We also understand that I think with the recycle toters, many people are recycling more, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. And some folks, especially seniors, may think that this container is too big or unwieldy. And for ease of rollout and consistency of rollout, we needed to standardize on one size. Those that might remember when we rolled out the recycling containers, we offered variable sizes. It was extremely difficult. It was very challenging for city staff to deliver those different sizes, swap things out. People got angry. And so this time we're going to try it a little different way. So appreciate everybody's patience and encourage everybody to use that larger container. As far as Farmington Road is concerned, yes, it was a little bit different road project. It was a complete reconstruct. So this wasn't just simply taking off a layer of pavement and fixing some base repair. We tore out the whole road. There's a little bit of a geometric change in the configuration of that road. In addition to that, we did put water main down Farmington Road. There was not municipal water along the frontages of those properties. And so that was a challenge as well. You know, we understand people are tired of that project. It's been going on a long time. However, it is on schedule, believe it or not. And they have not deviated. We've had good weather this summer, and as I understand it, we're still on schedule to wrap up in mid-fall. So, hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I just know people are tired of it, and there's a lot of people that have been complaining, saying, you know, there'll be 3-4 days when I don't see anyone working on the project at all. And so then they get frustrated when they don't see people working on it, and they don't understand why it takes all summer and well into the fall to pave the road. So I think it's just important that we are very thorough with getting the information out, not just was this a repaving, but a new water main in, and it had to be completely taken down to, you know, the base had to be replaced. And then also explaining sometimes the reason they're not working for 4 days is because they may be, you can't, you know, they may be working in just one little area doing something with a water main, or they may be waiting on a part for the water main, so maybe they're not working for 2 days waiting on that part, but usually.
Or for the materials to cure.
Right, for the materials to cure. I mean, there are reasons, but I think we gotta be better about explaining that when people call the city or when we have informational sessions. Typically, before every road construction project, we have an informational session for the residents. And I think those are the type of things that need to be explained to the residents, just so they have an understanding of it, because it would help address some of the concerns and anger that people have about this project, taking as long as it is.
Well, I can respond to that if you like, but I will tell you that there is information about Farmington Road on the homepage. It's on the crawler. Last update was September 6th, so it's relatively recent. It's only 2 weeks old. We do have informational meetings at the head ends of these projects. And even though we hold those project informational meetings, not everybody tends to come to those.
I know.
So we can't, we try to motivate people and compel them to come and learn about the project. And so if people do have concerns, they can absolutely give our Public Services Department a call at 248-871-2500, 2530. You can call me too. I'm happy to have that conversation.
Okay, Councilmember Bolaware?
Yes, following up on the new trash can rollout, for those individuals who want to get rid of their old trash can, do they put them in the receptacle, the new one, or is there a curbside pickup for that?
So they can, if it's plastic or metal, I believe they can be recycled. I've encouraged folks when I've gotten that question is, you need to put a sign on the can that lets the rubbish hauler take it, or put a please recycle or please dispose of. But you have to let the rubbish haulers know that you want it gone, and they'll be happy to take it.
The hardest thing to do is to throw out a garbage can.
Yeah.
So difficult. Anyone else? Okay, that brings us now to public hearing. Item number 3, a public hearing and consideration of the introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, zoning, in order to add a definition of shipping container and amend the definition of building, and to amend Article 5 to include new subsection addressing vehicles, commercial vehicles, recreational equipment trailers, storage pods, and shipping containers, and similar off-site built enclosures that are used as an accessory building or use. Zoning text amendment 2023, postponed from August 28th, 2023, because we had to do a new invitation of a public hearing because there was an error in the original one. So,
Good
hello.
evening. Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, Director of Planning and Community Development, to introduce the zoning text amendment for this evening. The purpose of the text amendment is to clarify the zoning regulations regarding temporary and permanent use of shipping containers and similar off-site built enclosures as accessory structures within commercial, industrial, and residential zoning districts. The draft amendment is a response to concerns raised by members of council a high volume of inquiries coming to the planning office regarding placement of shipping containers in a variety of areas, and observations by city staff and others that the use of these shipping containers and similar enclosures for storage, often on a permanent basis, has become increasingly common throughout the city and in certain residential neighborhoods. The draft of the text amendment would prohibit the use of shipping containers and similar off-site enclosures with 4 exceptions. 1, use of one enclosure on a permanent basis within the light industrial district with the approval of a site plan. 2, enclosures permitted on a temporary basis by the Zoning Board of Appeals. 3, enclosures placed on residential lots for a period of time not to exceed 30 days, with an additional 30 days available where cause is shown. And number 4, enclosures placed within any zoning district in connection with an ongoing construction project during the duration of such project. The Planning Commission reviewed the text amendment and unanimously recommended the approval of the Planning Commission's recommended approval of the text amendment at their meeting held in July of 2023. This evening, we're inviting the council to host a public hearing to hear public comments and make a determination on the draft amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So does anybody have any questions before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, I'm going to officially open the public hearing. Anybody who wishes to discuss this text amendment can come forward.
Good evening again to the mayor and council and everyone in this auditorium.
We need your name and street for our minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I think I need more clarity on this. You know, we seem to be having an issue in the city of Farmington Hills with city rules versus homeowner association rules. So if the city says that you cannot have a storage pod in your yard, but the homeowners association says that you can someone educate me on whose authority supersedes that particular issue?
Yes, Mr. Attorney.
Certainly, yes. In that instance, the city zoning ordinance is going to apply. Now, sometimes there's the opposite situation where the homeowners association rules apply to something that the city zoning ordinance does not apply to, and in that instance, the homeowners rules will apply. But if there is a conflict and the city prohibits something that the homeowner rules do not prohibit or even allow, the city rules are going to apply.
Well, I would like to encourage the city administration to reach out to all of the homeowners associations and let them know that just because they approve a fence, if they have not come to the city to get a permit, if their fence is over 36 inches, they are in violation of the city's rules. And that in that case, the homeowners association does not take precedence over the city. And then there has to be some type of enforcement. And I'm sure you guys know for me to be talking about this, that I'm alluding to some things. And I want to come back and, you know, talk at another time. But in reference to this public hearing, if this is going to add clarity to the rule in terms of the city ordinance versus homeowners association, and that the city supersedes the homeowners association, I would be in favor of anything that would provide clarity to zoning and ordinances. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else want to come forward? Yes. Just need your name and your street.
My name is Eva Diachenko, Hathaway Street, Farmington Hills, Michigan. I work for a small business in the city. We've been there since the late 70s, 80s. And I just wanted to make a comment on adding more regulation to something like this in an ordinance. you might want to be cautious by doing that, because I think it will deter a lot of businesses, small businesses, from coming into a city if, oh, I can't have a shipping container here. Well, how am I going to house, you know, a machine that I have to operate to do something? So I guess I just want to know what will be done to ensure that existing businesses, such as ourselves and others, that are currently using shipping containers in storage lots that have been grandfathered these rights will be able to still do so and not be harassed in any change in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, is there a grandfather clause?
Well, there is, in zoning law, there's no grandfather clause, but there is a non-conforming use allowance under the zoning ordinance. When it comes to temporary uses, though, it doesn't necessarily apply. It kind of is situational dependent on the history and exactly what is going on with respect to the property. So there, I don't want to rule out that there would not be any non-conforming use. So what non-conforming use means is if a property owner is using their property for a structure that's not placed or existing in accordance with the law at the time the law changes, it can continue. That's a very basic explanation of it. There's quite a bit more to it. But it generally allows that to continue as long as it remains in conformance with the pre-existing law. And otherwise, the property is in conformance with law and it's not expanded. There is quite a bit more to that law. I'm giving a very general summary. I want that clear, but that's the general idea for it. So there could be situations where there is a lawful non-conforming use right that would continue. A lot of people call it grandfathering. The case law actually says it's not actually grandfathering, but it is a relative of grandfathering, let's just say that.
So to be specific, if you are a light industrial zone property, you can automatically, I'm going to ask Charmaine, they can automatically use a shipping container or a shed or structure. One for the property.
The draft amendment outlines one permanent shipping container for light industrial locations.
Okay.
There is the option for a site plan approval for additional
Okay.
with the draft amendment.
Okay, and this is aimed at guiding the growth of containers that end up in residential neighborhoods on properties for extended periods of time without going before the Zoning Board of Appeals to get permission to use it.
Correct, and we've also seen some businesses utilize them for extended periods of time to add on to storage for their retail spaces. That's something else that's very common.
Okay, and we can give a variance for that.
Yes, there can be.
But they would have to file and go before the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's the process. The ZBA can approve.
That is correct. If the draft is approved, that would be an option for businesses to go before the Board of Appeals.
Do you know if your property is light industrial?
Hathaway is a light industrial district.
Okay, so you're all set. This wouldn't harm you one way or another.
We can have a
Another
conversation.
thing, as far as like industrial properties too, I mean, there are not that many light industrial properties within the city. So I guess in the ordinance, just like consider those properties, because they're kind of.
This ordinance does and allows
Okay.
them to have an accessory storage facility that's a shipping container or I believe a shed. So we're not harming the light industrial areas unless you have 3 or 4 of them,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
So I hope that answers your question.
I think so.
Yeah, we tried to be very careful. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak on this?
Good evening, Mayor Barnett and council members. My name's Alan Whittemore. I'm on Grand Duke Drive. It's the southwest of Inkster and 12 Mile. I'm going to talk about one of the reasons that drove this amendment to the zoning ordinance. one of our neighbors approached the city to, because he wanted to put a 8x20 shipping container on his residential property. And he was told that as long as it's less than 200 square feet, which is correct, that it was, no permit was needed, and just check with your homeowners. I'm the president of the Forest Brook Pebblebrook Association, and so it got to me. Let's see. Upon receipt of the request from the neighbor, my wife and I went to the city zoning office and confirmed that the above was correct. And any restriction would have to be enforced by the association. Well, we have limited funds. So basically, we talked with the owner and convinced him, fortunately, that the shipping container would not be conducive to country estate homes, which our subdivision really is. So that our problem went away. He was a very gracious neighbor and accepted that he would take care of the problem some other way, probably with a normal shed. However, we wanted to avoid this in the future. So remembering that our former neighbor was Councilman Randall Bruce, we approached him and asked him to see if we couldn't get a change to the zoning. And we appreciate the work that he and other people in the zoning have done. If you have any questions, I can try and answer them.
Does anybody have any questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, I just want to say that they did approach me about over a year ago, and I reached out to the city attorney and city manager to look at this issue because I was very concerned hearing that somebody was possibly going to put a shipping container in the backyard of our RA1 residential district. I can't imagine anything uglier than a 20-foot long shipping container in the backyard where all the yards are open, they're big, or in any yard in the city.
Unless its facade is now stone.
There you go. Well, maybe. But so I was very concerned about that because I know people can get these things very cheap now, and they are very widely available. And so people could, start bringing these in and start using them as a storage shed permanently. And I think it would really damage the character of our city and our neighborhoods. And so I asked the city attorney and city manager if we could, take a look at this and maybe make some changes to our zoning ordinances. And this is where things have kind of let up. So I'm very much in support of making sure that we don't allow these in residential districts. I like what else the ordinance does to address some of the other issues. So I think overall it's a good ordinance. So I can make a motion if you're ready for a motion. Oh.
Okay, and then we'll let everybody speak.
Okay. I would move the
I still have a comment.
Well, let's put a motion on the floor first, and then.
Okay.
I would move the introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, zoning, in order to add a definition of shipping container and amend the definition of building, and to amend Article 5 to include a new subsection addressing vehicles, commercial vehicles, recreational equipment, trailers, storage pods, and shipping containers and similar off-site built enclosures that are used as accessory building or use. Zoning text amendment 2/2023, postponed from August 28, 2023. And I also want to add that this doesn't address the temporary pods that people put in their yards or driveways for moving things in and out.
It doesn't hurt them.
Doesn't hurt them. It doesn't address those. These are for permanent uses of shipping containers, which are a completely different animal than a short-term, smaller storage pod that people use just for moving things in and out of their home that are there for, just a few days.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Bruce, seconded by Councilmember Bolaware. Discussion. Councilmember No.
I have two questions for our city planners. So the first one, and I just want to clarify this, and it's specifically more for any audience that may be watching, and part of it kind of follows up on what Councilmember Bruce was saying. Again, just to clarify, this is not in regards to sheds that people have in their backyard. This does not in any way change our ordinances on permanent shed structures that people have. This is only in regards to shipping containers being used permanently in someone's backyard. That would be my first. I just want a point of clarification again, just to rest assured all of those in the audience that currently have wood sheds or maybe thinking about building a wood shed. This doesn't apply to that.
Yeah, this would not affect sheds at all. The amended definition here is really meant to get specifically at the shipping containers and similar types of structures.
Great.
So it's not intended to affect those at all.
Okay, that was more of a confirmation than a question. My second one actually is a question. It has to do with, right now, a light industrial district is allowed a shipping container. But I have question about our business districts that are not necessarily light industrial. I'll give you an example. Say Botsford Hospital. They're not in a light industrial district. Sorry, I said Botsford again. Corwell, I know that. Second time tonight I made that mistake. Say that they have a new x-ray machine shipped to them. It's shipped in a shipping container or some sort of big piece of equipment. They are going to have a shipping container potentially in their receiving dock. They are not in a light industrial district though. So would this prevent that in any way? Because obviously, as was stated tonight, our businesses do receive equipment in shipping containers, and sometimes that shipping container does stay there in their loading dock or at their back door for a while until that truck can come, because sometimes they drop it off and they don't immediately take away the empty shipping container. Additionally, I am a bit concerned about light industrial. For example, what if there were an automotive, say tier 3 supplier that's dealing with very small components, but they ship them in shipping containers. They're packaged in a large shipping container and they are constantly coming and going to their tier 2 or whoever their customer is. Those are constantly moving. And they often store them in the parking lot until the truck comes to load, the hauler comes to load them up again. They are not taken away one by one. They often get many at a time. Empties or full. They get the empties, they fill them up, and when the truck is full, then they're taken away. So I want to make sure that this also wouldn't prevent that, because you possibly could have that type of supplier or that type of company in a light industrial district. I realize Farmington doesn't have medium and heavy district, but we do have light, and that's where they would have to locate. And that type of business would need more than one shipping container. They're constantly coming and going, though. So how is that addressed? So my first example was Corwell, which is not in a light industrial. If they were to receive a large piece of an X-ray equipment or something large, it's shipped that way, I want to make sure they would not be in violation.
Yeah, and really the whole posture of this is complaint driven. We're really only looking for the more egregious cases. So if it's incidental to shipping operations and something, obviously they're not staying there on a permanent basis. And really what we're intending to prevent is these becoming a permanent fixture on the property. So basically, when you have them coming in and out like that, unless somebody complains about it, which I wouldn't certainly see why, if that's, part of the operations of the business, that they're receiving, products or, things in those containers, there'd be no reason for us to have any issue with it. And what it's addressing here is it's allowing you to have one on a permanent basis, actually in an LI1 zone. As far as the ones that are coming in and out, this ordinance is not intended to address that. That's kind of a separate issue.
Good. I think that's an important point. As long as it's coming and going, it is allowed.
Right.
This is only for a permanent basis.
We're not asking those people to come to the city and seek approval to have things shipped to the property. That's, something that would only become a problem if they were lingering there for a long time, essentially.
Like permanently.
Right.
Our city attorney.
Yes.
Just wanted to mention that we do cover it in the language here, because it talks about these enclosures, shipping containers and so forth, being used as an accessory building or use, meaning it's used to house and store people or house people or anything to that effect, like Mr. Pradonic said, on a permanent basis. It's used as an accessory building. So you
Okay.
can't use these containers as an accessory building, which is what we were driving at addressing, not
But you
when
can
they're
use it as a
used for their
shipping
intended
container.
purpose, which is to ship something.
Great, good.
So
I
that's-
just want to make sure our businesses are protected, that they're not going to all of a sudden, people aren't going to complain on them because they've got a shipping container in their parking lot waiting to be picked up.
Ms. Newland?
Well, I know this is it's just merely an introduction, but I'm not going to be supportive of this. And I'll explain why. One, there are 13 words added into what is defined as a building. So I'm not for sure what all that includes and not includes. Two, it mixes businesses with residential. And I think if we're going to start defining things, we need to pull these two apart. And three, I'm totally in favor of shipping containers used as houses or residentials. I've seen absolutely beautiful homes in other communities made out of shipping containers. And I can name probably 3 of them, 3 other larger, other cities that have them. Royal Oak, Ferndale, Hazel Park, and they're absolutely beautiful. With the cost of building now, this makes a very good option to make a home. If there's a vacant property that needs something put on, why let it sit vacant if the cost of building is so prohibitive for someone who wants to build? So I'm definitely not in favor of this amendment.
Okay, is there anybody else? Okay, we'll call the question. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Newland,
No.
Knoll,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes, it passes 4-1 with 2 absents. And this is just the introduction. This will come back at our next meeting for enactment, similar vote. Next item on the agenda is public hearing and in consideration of the introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, zoning, to amend the definition of motel, zoning text amendment 3, 2023, postponed from August 28th, 2023, due to an error in posting the public hearing. So it's back to us for public hearing and introduction tonight.
Good evening.
Hello again.
Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, Director of Planning and Community Development, to introduce to you Zoning Text Amendment 3, 2023. The purpose of the draft amendment to the zoning ordinance is to strengthen the city's zoning regulation regarding the use of residential homes as short-term rentals, not currently a permitted use in the city. To this end, the draft zoning text amendment revises the definition of motel in the zoning ordinance in such a way as to make more clear to more clearly include short-term rentals. This approach is based on Michigan case law that focused on the definition of motel and the limitation of motels to non-residential zoning districts as a means of prohibiting them in residential zoning districts. Basically, the revised definition puts the city on firmer ground with regard to classifying short-term rental of a home as a commercial use, as motels are currently restricted to commercial zoning districts within the city. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended the adoption of the text amendment at their this past July's meeting, with a public hearing being held at that time. We invite the Council to open a public hearing this evening and discuss the draft amendment.
Okay, does anybody have any questions at this time? No? Okay, I will officially open the public hearing. The public hearing is open regarding the change in the language of defining motel.
I just basically, Pamela Giro, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I just wanted to ask a question. When we had a lot of catastrophic weather in some of the southern states, people were allowed to migrate to the area, southeastern Michigan, and those motels were used as temporary housing. And I'm finding that, and it's great that people were able to come, they were able to stay if they wanted to because they found a job and they just wanted to live on higher ground, so to speak. When motels change their status and a person is there for over a certain amount of time, is it still someone staying at a motel, or does it turn into some form of housing? And if it turns into some form of housing, does the city require for that motel owner to come and change the status of the building?
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to the attorney, but it's the reverse. It prevents residential property from being used as a short-term rental inside of a neighborhood. The motel is perfectly fine, can have guests for as long as those guests can pay or want to stay. Mr. Attorney.
I could hardly say it better. This does not prevent motels from continuing to be motels as long as they're in the proper zoning district in the city of Farmington Hills. And the way that our ordinance is structured is really not based on how long they stay, but the periods of time during which they compensate the motel owner for their stay, typically on a nightly or weekly basis. And it's juxtaposed against rental apartments, for example, which are usually on a monthly or yearly basis. So that's the difference. That's the dividing line. It's how the compensation comes in, not how long somebody stays.
So if a person wanted to take their home, if you know, we have these snowbirds, and if they want to go to Florida in the winter, and they want to rent their house out while they're gone, do you classify that as a B&B? Is it just a rental? Is it a seasonal rental like we have golf matches that come to town and people look to rent their houses out instead of people going to a hotel? I just need a little bit more clarity, and thank you.
Certainly. So as far as, again, it goes back to how it is charged, what the arrangement is. If it's being rented as a rental house on a monthly basis for monthly periods of time, then this ordinance is not going to apply. So this is not, that's why it's called short term. So if it's a longer term, meaning the rental is on a 30-day, pay me for 30 days of staying there, even if you're only staying there for 30 days, they're not going to be considered a motel.
Right, but in those conditions, they would have to come to the city and list their property as a rental for the purposes of our rental inspection and possibly a change in their property tax status, moving from a residential property to a non-residential, a second home. So that would change. We've had several problems in our neighborhoods with short-term rentals where houses are rented for 10 days, 2 days, 3 nights. Even a pool has been rented.
An hour?
An hour, causing tremendous disruption in those neighborhoods. So we wanted to, this is aimed at putting an end to that.
And does that include adult foster care? Because I know those are governed by the state.
Short-term rental.
Short-term.
This is only short-term rental.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one, I will officially close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Want to make a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll move the consideration of an introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34 zoning to amend the definition of motel. Zoning Text Amendment 3, 2023, postponed from August 28, 2023. And I am very much in support of this because I don't think anything destroys the character of a neighborhood faster than businesses being forced into neighborhoods, and short-term rentals for a day, a week, an hour, whatever it is highly disruptive to a neighborhood. We've seen people rent their houses out over a day or an hour or a few nights, and there's nothing but parties and disruptions, traffic coming in and out. Concerts, people selling tickets get into the home for different events, and tons of police runs to these types of events or disruptions to the neighborhood. It is really, really bad. And I've known people that have lived next door to short-term rentals, and they couldn't get any peace and quiet. It was a constant series of disruptions. This doesn't do anything to people who rent their homes out for longer periods of time in terms of just normal house rentals. This is really geared towards people that are using a home in a neighborhood as a business. A lot of times they don't even live there, and this is very disruptive to the entire neighborhood, and it really damages or destroys the values around this type of thing. So I think this is another way of solidifying our neighborhoods, protecting our neighborhoods, and keeping Farmington Hills a great place to live, because our neighborhoods in the city are great, and we want to keep them that way. And this will help prevent the type of damage that we've seen and that we've had a lot of issues with lately.
Okay. I support for all the reasons Dr. Bruce so eloquently stated.
Okay, so it's been moved by Dr. Bruce, seconded by Councilmember Knoll. Is there any discussion? Yes.
I, too, again, will not be supporting this. I think it's a little short-sighted. Yes, there are problems out there, but why penalize those who are using the short-term rental to be able to support their home? I know there's people out there that may be gone for a week and they rent it out for a week. We have to understand that travel patterns have changed. People travel with children. I always hated going into hotels, motels with children and having to be forced to pay for 2 rooms. Families now get together. If you've got cousins with families getting together, how do they get together in a motel or hotel? They like to have a large home that they can be together, cook together, sit together, talk together. Seniors are not even liking hotels anymore because of the cleanliness issue. A short-term rental was vital during the pandemic. My daughter stayed in one for 60 days because we did not know what the virus is going to do to our family. So again, I'm very cautious that we are making limitations. We should be looking at different solutions for those who are good short-term rental people. Also, if we had short-term rentals, make them rental properties and be able to use the taxes from there. So also, if there's a partial decline, if there's any kind of decline in the housing market and you're trying to sell a home and it won't sell, you don't have a lot of other options. The other thing I also hear is that when someone's looking to have, let's say, have an employment in an area, they'll actually use a short-term rental to get a vibe, a feeling for what that community is like. So again, I'm also aware that the city paid for members of our staff to stay in the short-term rentals when we went to conference. So why is it okay for another community but not us? So I'm not going to be supportive of this ordinance.
Mr. Jopik.
Just a point of procedure here, because I know that there are 2 council members missing. An ordinance under our city charter requires a vote of 4 members of council. Just wanted to make sure you were all aware of that.
I was, but thank you. Okay, anyone else want to say anything?
Well, I'm in support of this ordinance for several reasons. I think one of the reasons I too like short-term rentals when I go to vacation spots. However, our city is a commuter city. People usually go to work, they come in. There's not people usually coming in to vacation for long periods of time. In cases what Council Newland just mentioned about nurses who come in, they have the traveling nurses. I think this program will not impact those because travel nurses are usually here for at least 3 or 6 months in one location. There's nothing worse than living next to a home in which there's a lot of traffic coming in and out, parties, uh, trashing the neighborhood. It could just be miserable for those individuals who live on that street. My daughter lives on a street, not in the city, but another city in which there is a short-term rental, and that has been one of the #1 complaints, and many residents are now moving from that city just because of that one short-term rental. The traffic, the noise, is just horrible. So based upon that, I'm going to support this. I think it's a good thing for Farmington Hills. I think if someone wants to be a business necessarily, they should pay all the taxes that our motels pay. But I know that this is an area of discussion that the state and a lot of other communities are struggling with. And things can always change, but at this point, I'm going to support it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Council members Bolaware,
Yes?
Bruce,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Newland,
No.
Mayor Barnett.
Yes, passes 4-1 with 2 absent. This again was just the introduction. We will have at our next meeting the enactment. Next is new business. Number 5, consideration of approval of agreement with Oakland County for election services related to early voting. I believe this is yours, Carly?
It is. So with the passing of Proposal 2 last November of '22, early voting was now required for all state, federal elections for a minimum of 9 days prior to an election. Back at the June 12th study session, we brought before you that Oakland County has come to us to pilot this in the November election with a mutual agreement with us in the city of Farmington. So tonight before you is that very agreement.
Any questions of Carly about partnering, the partnership agreement with Oakland County and Farmington? No? Okay, this is a regular vote. I need a motion. Councilmember Knoll?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Oakland County for election services related to early voting.
Is that, do we need to add Farmington in as well, or just Oakland County?
Nope, this is just for us.
Okay. It's been moved by Councilmember Knoll, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Bruce. This is a straight-up vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0 with 2 absents. And that brings us to additions to the agenda, of which there are none, and adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's been moved.
Support.
It's been supported. It's been moved by Councilmember Newland, seconded by Councilmember Bolaware. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Good night, Farmington Hills.